The topic that just won't die. And a new number one team at the top of the college rankings. That and more coming up on this episode of Basketball Street Beat. All right, welcome to Basketball Street Beat episode 6. I'm your host, John Behrens.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
So, when I say the topic that just won't die, my gosh, it is just a topic that won't die. And, yeah, kind of understandable. What am I talking about, Josh?
Anthony Davis.
Of course, Anthony Davis. So, that whole situation appears to have just gotten even worse and more messier and a lot more questions behind it and a lot more what the hell is going on. So we can start with the fact that he left the game before the All-Star break against the Thunder, which amazingly they won, by the way.
They did. They did.
With a shoulder contusion.
Okay.
And yet he's playing in the NBA All-Star game 2 days later.
Sounds very sketchy.
I mean, I've never had a muscle contusion before.
I have, but I mean, it doesn't take 2 days to recover. I fell from a cargo rope like 6 to 8 feet in the air, and I had a shoulder contusion in my right shoulder. And by the next day, I was just fine. I mean, I was kind of shook up throughout the rest of that day that I got the contusion, but that next day, I was completely fine. So if you have a shoulder contusion and 2 days later you're playing in a game where everybody's just going at 50-60%, I mean,
okay, so it's not as shitty as some people are making it sound. But so he was asked about. Well, I want to go back to the fact that he left the arena. If I remember correctly, he left the arena altogether with his agent in hand. So
that's what makes it shady. It's just like it's as if like his agent was like, F this. I mean, I don't know why they didn't trade us. Let's just go.
And that was just kind of weird. The fact that he left the arena before the game was over with agent in hand. So. And then at the All-Star game, he was asked about the Celtics, which he came out and said, the Celtics were never not on his team, and he repeated it like 3 times, I want to say.
It's just Anthony Davis just wants to leave, and he's at the point of, I don't care where I go, I just want to win. That's basically his mindset right now. And
then he wants to sit there and say that one of the reasons why he wants to be traded is to win, to go to a winning organization. And then he mentions the New York Knicks and how great of an organization they are.
Well,
this is the team that lost 19 straight games, right?
Yes, this is a team that's like 11 wins and 47 losses.
I mean, even Phoenix has a better record, if I'm correct.
That is very shocking. To even come up with the sentence that the Phoenix Suns have a better record than you do. Something must be wrong. Something is wrong. I'm surprised Devin Booker hasn't requested a trade by now, to be honest.
It's just like, okay, what is the real reason you went out of New Orleans? Because if you're going to list the Knicks as a great organization and you want out because you want to go to a winning organization, and yet they lost 19 straight this year, they got the worst record in the NBA. Is winning really the reason why you went out? Doesn't seem like it.
It really doesn't, but I mean, at the same time, the Knicks, they traded Kristaps Porzingis. They actually made room for 2 max deals. So maybe AD might know something about the Knicks that we might not know. Because, the Knicks, they're probably, there's rumors of them pursuing Kevin Durant. There's rumors of them pursuing Kyrie Irving. And so with a winning organization, he may not talk about they're winning their ways now, but what this franchise could be in the future, 2 or 3 years in the future. So with the Knicks, they got room for 2 max deals. Then Anthony Davis is going to be pretty much off, and then Anthony Davis could be acquired through a trade in the offseason, depending on how the lottery of the draft goes. So, I mean, I'm not trying to put anything into existence. I'm not going to try and jinx anything, but just imagine if the Knicks in the offseason were able to get Kevin Durant, they were able to get Kyrie Irving, and if they were able to trade for Anthony Davis. Now you're looking at probably the league's worst team, and they can go up to being one of the best in the league next season, if you think about it. Along when they got guys like Dennis Smith Jr., then they got DeAndre Jordan in the middle. So,
yeah. So what do you think about Jason Tatum predicting that the Celtics win the NBA championship this year?
Well, in the city of Boston, if the Celtics don't win the NBA Finals, then now you know who you can go out there and jump. Jason Tatum. The Celtics are not going to win the NBA Finals this season. I fully believe that it's going to be the Golden State Warriors again. I mean, just the way they've been playing, they've been very dominant. I mean, they got an all-star cast as the starting 5. I mean, you got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, and you got Boogie Cousins, who's working towards going back to his former self. His, he's still kind of like in that trying to get back to that 100% phase like he was back when he was in Sacramento. It's going to be the Golden State Warriors again. I think the teams that's going to give them a run for the money. Honestly, I don't even think Boston's going to come out the East. Because you still got to deal with Milwaukee. You got to deal with Toronto. You got to deal with the Sixers, who have found full stride, especially with the acquisitions they made, like, getting Jimmy Butler and getting Tobias Harris. And, you got guys like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and J.J. Redick. So, I mean, it's a bold prediction, and I like the confidence out of him. I mean, he's young. He's very confident in his team. I mean, because the Celtics, do they have what it takes to win a title? Yes. But will they win it? No, because they got too many egos on that team. And it's a bunch of players that they're not willing to accept, like a lower role, like a smaller role on the team. And the reason why Golden State is so successful is because you got guys who are willing to accept smaller roles in order to contribute to the success of the team. Look, Kevin Durant, he took a pay cut just to stay in Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Golden State's so successful, because they're able to come together as a team no matter the egos. Until Boston can come together and be willing to swallow their pride, until that happens, Boston will not win a title.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the whole Kyrie stuff? He said he would not answer anything about what his intentions are until after the season.
I think it's a smart move by him. He don't want to give the media anything to feed off of. I mean, because he just wants to focus on this season. You can tell Kyrie is truly focused on the game and trying to lead his team. So he don't want any type of media distraction. They don't want any type of the media to put up any rumors about him going there or him going there or him going there. So he wants to put his full focus on this season, being with his team and trying to succeed as much as possible. So I think he did a smart move about not talking about trade rumors or trade talks.
Yeah. So, I mean, Kyrie wanted to go to another team to get out of LeBron's shadow. Do you feel like he's done that in the 2 years he's been in Boston?
I feel like he has. I mean, all of a sudden he became pretty much the face of that franchise, and he became the true leader of that team. And he actually, after one of his games, he called and apologized to LeBron, because back when LeBron came back to Cleveland to join Kyrie, Kyrie was in his shadow. He saw what LeBron went through as far as leading younger guys and having to try and put that team on your back. And he experienced it himself being in Boston. So I feel like he's gotten out of LeBron's shadow, and he has his own brand and his own his own style. And it's like now people are not trying to compare him to anybody else on the team. He's the leader of that team.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he does end up doing, because he has a free agent after the season, and it's just like, okay, does he sit around and wait to see if the Celtics make a trade for AD, or does he sign with the Knicks, or what?
I think if Kyrie wants to add more star power, like if he wants to go somewhere where there's more firepower, I say wait to see what happens with AD. Because if you want to be on a team with AD, you might want to see what happens with him. If he goes with New York and you don't want to go there, you go ahead and sign with Boston or go ahead and sign with a team where, or if you want to try and go to LA, you want to try your luck with LA, go to LeBron's team. I mean, but I would try and wait and see what happens with AD. Mm-hmm. If he wants to play with AD.
All right. So, do we need to watch the Knicks? See what they do this offseason?
Yes. I feel there's going to be a huge shakeup in the NBA, depending on what the Knicks do, especially when it comes to the draft. There's going to be a lot of moves made. I feel we're going to see type like a Cleveland Browns like turnaround, as you saw with the last offseason in the NFL. Cleveland Browns made a lot of moves, and you saw they reaped the benefits this season. You know, winning games, and now they've turned to a team with playoff capabilities. And I feel we're going to see the same thing from the New York Knicks this offseason, not only in the draft but also in the free agency.
Mm-hmm. Right. I don't know. It intrigues me that Anthony Davis called them a great organization and that he wanted to go there to win.
Well, the New York Knicks, they do have a rich history. I mean, being in Madison Square Garden and a lot of...
I know they got a rich history, but come on. Seriously, have they really been contenders since Ewing?
Sorry. They really haven't. I mean, I remember when they had Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony. I mean, Knicks didn't even make it any further than the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
And when Amari Stoudemire, that was a huge pickup when he left the Phoenix Suns to go to the New York Knicks, and when the Knicks were able to acquire Carmelo Anthony from Denver. And it was just like, and everybody was like, Knicks are back. Knicks are back. And for a while, we thought the Knicks were back. But that wore off very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Amari Stoudemire started to fade away, and it's like as if Carmelo Anthony was pretty much carrying the team by himself.
And I have to say, it seems like the two big narratives right now, as far as what everybody else is doing and what everyone wants to do, is other teams are trying to outdo the Warriors for number one. And it seems like players and LeBron James versus coaches and owners.
It's just a big mess.
Because it seems like there's a lot of people that seem to feel, and rightly so, that LeBron James has undermined their programs with dropping in ears of their star players. Oh, we should team up and wherever I'm going to be next and win championships, beat the Warriors, rawr.
Well, I mean, LeBron James is one of the most influential players in the history of the NBA. So a guy of his influence, I mean, he gets the right guys by him. He can definitely overthrow a lot of coaches and owners. And he's been more of like a rebel, ever since, his days of going to Miami and then going back to Cleveland, forming these super teams.
Because now officially Los Angeles with LeBron James have been given the finger twice. First by San Antonio with Kawhi Leonard, who traded him to Toronto, even with just 1 year left on his contract. Who were pretty much like, you want to go to Los Angeles? Sign with them when you're a free agent. And now, Anthony Davis, again. Los Angeles sought a trade for a star player to team up with LeBron James. And they're like, no, we'll wait until the offseason. Try to get a better deal of it. Thank you, but no thanks.
Another thing with Kawhi Leonard, look at the way the Raptors are playing with Kawhi Leonard being out there with Kyle Lowry and with Danny Green. I mean, now most likely Kawhi Leonard might not even leave Toronto. Just look at the way that the Raptors are playing. They are a legitimate threat in the East, and they could be a legitimate threat to the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And so, looking at how the Warriors are how the Raptors are gelling, Kawhi might not even leave Toronto.
That to me would just be funny. I laugh at that.
I would laugh at that too. Like LA, you put in so much work, so you went hell and back to try and get Kawhi. And San Antonio pretty much gave you the finger. San Antonio pretty much also gave Kawhi the finger because Kawhi made it clear that he wanted to go to LA. He wanted to team up with LeBron, and basically San Antonio was like, well, we still have you under contract, and we'll trade you anywhere we want to trade you. So Have fun wherever you're going. And I think that's what the Pelicans might do with Anthony Davis, since the Pelicans still have him under contract.
Yeah.
They might give AD the finger and be like, well, we're going to trade you wherever we want to trade you. So have fun wherever you're going. And good luck to you.
Yeah, but at the same time, AD has not really helped the situation.
Oh, he hasn't. I mean, it's
it's a mess. The whole thing is this huge mess, and it's well beyond AD. AD is just the topic of the moment in a much larger picture.
But, I mean, in AD's defense, I mean, he wants to win. The Pelicans haven't exactly been a winning organization. And, like, look at LeBron. He left the Cleveland Cavaliers there after his first stint to go to Miami because he wanted to win a title. He knew his worth. He knows that he's one of the best in the world, and he deserves a ring. And especially after he did in his first stint. Because you look at his first stint in Cleveland. If you took him off that roster, that was the worst team in the NBA. If you took him off that roster.
Which he did leave, and they did become the worst team in the NBA.
They went to first to worst in the span of a season. It was that year that he left, Cavaliers immediately went from first to worst. So, I mean, LeBron needed some help. And he got tired of Delonte West having an affair with his mom. But that's another discussion for another day. But, yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Delonte West had an affair with his mom.
Okay.
Well, that's what I've been hearing. Don't quote me on it, people, but that's just reports of, I mean, yeah. Don't sue me. But, I mean, back to LeBron's situation, he needs some help. So, Dwayne Wade, him and Chris Bosh, they formed the Big Three. Miami was able to get some more acquisitions like Mario Chalmers and Shane Battier, Ray Allen. And they went on to win 2 titles in 4 years. They reached the finals all 4 years while he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that AD, he knows how good he is, and AD wants a title. He wants a ring, and he knows he's not going to get a ring staying in New Orleans unless the Pelicans just get a lot of max deals and get a super team together, which is probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, so AD, I mean, if I wanted a ring, I would want to leave too.
But it almost feels like LeBron is teaming up with Magic Johnson right now to try to create a super team in LA.
I mean, it's not going to happen as long as these other owners are just giving them the finger. Like, I mean, it seemed that LA is trying to form a band of super mercenaries.
Yeah, I know. It's and now not only that, but the commissioner's getting in on it. Like, he's just straight up fed up with it. He's tired of it.
I would be tired of it too. I mean, all this talking is just.
No,
he's kind of like, why don't you just go out there and just play basketball? Let the owners and GMs handle that. Players, do not worry about it. If something comes up, then we'll let you know. But for the time being, just go out there and play basketball. You're getting paid to do it. Just go out there and play.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't even know what to think of it. It's just so much is going on, and it won't go away, and it's probably not going to go away for quite some time. I don't know. Well, we'll just have to see, because right now it just seems to be there's this race for creating super teams, and you can argue that it started with the Warriors. I mean,
it started with the Heat.
The Heat. I'm sorry, and then it transition to the Warriors, who now have, like you said, 5 All-Stars on their starting 5.
And I still, to be honest, I'm not trying to sound like a hater, but speaking of the Warriors, I would not give Steve Kerr credit for, like, the titles that he won. I mean, first off, when Golden State first started winning titles, those were Mark Jackson's players. You do realize that, right? Because Steve Kerr wasn't around when freaking Steph Curry got drafted and Klay Thompson came on and Draymond Green came on. No, those were Mark Jackson's players. And then, I mean, if I ought to give anybody credit, it would be Mark Jackson, because he's the one who spearheaded the Warrior Revolution as far as winning was concerned, the winning culture. Then I would give it to the owner and GM for making the moves they got as far as getting guys like Andre Iguodala and getting guys like Kevin Durant, bringing those guys on to contribute to the success of the Warriors. Steve Kerr is pretty much just the yes man. He's just there.
Yeah, you make a interesting point, because there was a time when, in that moment, where Steve Kerr was really dealing with his illness and was gone for games at a time, and the Warriors still won.
And I think it was the assistant coach Mike Brown, I believe.
Yeah, the Warriors still won.
They were still winning with Mike Brown on the sideline.
Yeah. I want to say that was their 73 win season.
It was. So, I mean, Steve Kerr, he's just there. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Steve Kerr is a good coach. I mean, he knows the game very well. I mean, he used to play with MJ back in Chicago. And Steve Kerr was...
He was on the original, 72 and 10 Bulls.
So, I'm not trying to take anything away from Steve Kerr. I mean, there's no doubt that he is a good coach and that, his players do love him and that, his players have bought into what he brings to the team and that the organization has bought into what he brings to their franchise. But I'm just saying a lot of people are hyping up Steve Kerr to be this really good coach. But do not forget, Mark Jackson was the one who started that winning culture at Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a point in time where Golden State started going to the playoffs and then you saw a lot of progression in those guys. And that was around the time Steph Curry first got drafted. And before Mark Jackson left, the Warriors, they had like a 55, 56 win season. And my thing is, why do you fire Mark Jackson? I mean, just imagine how better the Warriors could have been had Mark Jackson would have stayed as head coach. You would have been looking at maybe a 75, 76, 77 win team. I'm just saying.
Speaking in Golden State, I see now had all the success they've have. I still remember when it was a big deal with Don Nelson's teams with Baron Davis and Stephon Mayberry.
Oh, I remember those times too. Back when they were rocking the blue and orange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the number 8 seed Golden State Warriors knocking off number 1 seed San Antonio was a big deal.
You sure that wasn't Memphis that knocked them off?
I think Memphis also did it, but it was no. I'm sorry. They knocked off number 1 Dallas.
Because Memphis was an 8 seed and knocked off number 1 San Antonio.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, this was Golden State versus Dallas.
Yeah, that was when it was a big deal. That was when we kind of started seeing the tide turn out there in the Bay Area.
Well, they had Don Nelson as their head coach for a little while, and then they had some success there. Then a drop off, and then the current Warriors team started to form out of the draft.
And you're looking at a franchise that started from the bottom, because I remember the Warriors used to be one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. And at first, a lot of people were like, "Yeah, the Warriors." Now we're all just getting tired of them. It's like okay, go away.
Y'all won again? Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Y'all won again? Go away. Bring Don Nelson back or whatever. Just go.
I'd be interested to see how Don Nelson would do in today's NBA.
That's kind of interesting. I kind of want to see too.
Yeah, it would be like, in my mind, it would be almost like bringing Lou Piniella back.
Oh wow!
You remember his sideline rants, especially as the Cubs.
Oh yeah, they were legendary.
Yeah,
bases getting thrown around and lots of screaming, lots of cussing and fussing. Because I mean, only Lord knows what Lou Piniella is actually saying to those umpires. Lord knows. I would hate to be that umpire right now.
Yeah.
If I was getting into an argument with Lou Piniella.
But Don Nelson was all about the offense. It was zero defense.
I mean, that's the way. I mean, today. Well, I mean, he would fare pretty well in today's NBA because today's NBA is about all offense. There's not really any defense.
Exactly. All right, so a lot of interesting stuff going on in the NBA. Most of it has nothing to do with what's happening on the court. So
a lot of business drama.
Exactly. Anyway, college basketball trekking on, heading straight for the March Madness and all that sports goodness. And
there are teams that are on the radar as far as, teams who can probably make a pretty big run in the NCAA tournament. Of course, teams like Duke, Kentucky, Kentucky has found their stride.
So no, let's talk about Kentucky for a moment. Let's talk about them. So they lose at home to LSU, who is still on a tear, by the way. And then, 3 days later, they go and just
obliterate Tennessee, who was the number 1 team and who have not lost since November going into that game.
Yeah, and So what was there? Okay, so what does that say about LSU? And what does that say about Tennessee?
Well, it says that, LSU's on the right track. Tennessee still got some things to work on. Pretty much Tennessee, I would like to say Tennessee got exposed in that game too. Because, leading up to that game, Tennessee never really faced like a high top tier team. Like the last one they had faced, going to the game was Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was time for Tennessee to that was the nation's chance to see Tennessee go up against a top tier team. If you saw how they played against Kentucky, just imagine what would happen if they went up against a team like Duke, or they went up against a team like North Carolina or Virginia. With LSU's on the right track. They were able to go. And a lot of people, they want to make it come off as a controversial buzzer beater. And I watched that video over and over again. That was a clean buzzer beating shot. Of course, the shot went off. Bixby Williams got the shot off before the buzzer went off, and they wanted to see if it was goaltending, in which it wasn't. He didn't touch the ball until the ball went off the rim. He tipped it back in, buzzer beater, LSU won. And just like people do, it's as if people are trying to be stubborn. They don't want to give LSU enough credit. LSU's not getting enough credit now. And LSU, if LSU wants to get credit, if LSU wants to receive validation from critics and analysts, they got to beat Tennessee on the 23rd. But their first test, they got to go against Florida tomorrow night.
So here's the thing about that matchup with Tennessee. You can argue there's a little bit of luster off of it with their loss to Kentucky. But, Tennessee was being tucked up as a number one seed. And, if they win the SEC, and by all means, yeah, they should be. But let's just say they come in and they beat LSU. Okay, now what? You have a situation where, Tennessee beats LSU. LSU beats Kentucky. Kentucky beats Tennessee.
Well, right now you're looking at the top three teams in the conference, of course. And you're going to be looking at a triple threat. You're looking at a fight to the finish between those three teams in the SEC tournament, of course.
Now, on the flip side, if LSU beats Tennessee in the PMAC Saturday, then, that's it. LSU has a clear-cut path to the SEC title, and with wins over both Tennessee and Kentucky.
Well, right now, first off, LSU's on a clear-cut path to an at-large bid, so say if anything goes haywire, LSU's going to get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. It's just now, it's at the point of now, the more they win, the higher they'll be seeded when they go to the big dance.
Well, no, if the season ended today, they'll probably be a 4 or 3 seed.
Okay, I can see that happening.
They're gonna be an upper seed without question.
I'm just saying
they're gonna be a top 6.
Well, if LSU wins out the rest of the season and they win the SEC tournament, then you could be looking at maybe a 1 or 2 seed.
I don't see them giving LSU the number 1 seed, even though they were talking about giving Tennessee the number 1, and now I don't know, maybe Kentucky's still in that argument.
Well, you still have to you still got to put in consideration Duke, Virginia, Houston, the Houston Cougars, who they're 24-1. So, and also Kentucky as well.
So
Nevada.
That's the team that surprises me. Nevada is currently ranked at 6.
Well, Nevada was actually in the they've been ranked all season. They came into the season ranked in the top 25, and I think they came into the season ranked I want to say top 10, top 20. And it's just Nevada. They've maintained the Wolfpack. They've maintained their dominance throughout the season.
And you mentioned Houston, and that's another one. I would say I'm not used to Houston being a power player.
They are this season.
So there's some surprise teams this year. Obviously, I see that Marquette's doing well again, and Purdue is another one.
Michigan.
Yeah. What about defending champs, Villanova?
Villanova, they started the season off pretty rocky. I think it was when they was it they lost? I think it was to Furman. I believe.
Yeah. Well, Furman got off to a pretty solid
Yeah,
start.
they were off to a hot start, and they met their decline when they lost to LSU. That was when you kind of started seeing their decline because that was their first loss of the season, and that was when they just started kind of like bowling over.
What's funny is, or not funny, interesting is you see some of the teams that had been previously, like Indiana and Wisconsin and Cincinnati, and even Kansas seems to have taken a little bit of a step back this year.
That is surprising because usually Kansas is always on a tear throughout the whole regular season, and we see them choke in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, am I lying?
There's a plate, no.
Exactly.
But I'm interested to see, who's going to be the big upsetters this year. You always got a few.
The big upsetters are going to come. It's going to be outside the top 25, of course. It's going to be coming from the smaller conferences.
What about possibly St. John's? After all, they just beat Villanova this past week.
I can see St. John's being an upsetter. But I would look at teams like Northern Iowa, of course, because they are always upsetters every year. Mm. It's hard to say. I mean, I'm not going to like say anything until conference champions are revealed, and when I see the bracket, that's when I can determine some upsetters. And it's just Here's my thing about the upsets: you never know when they come at you. So it's like a 15th seed. Like I remember the year Middle Tennessee knocked off Michigan State. Michigan State had Denzel Valentine, and that came out of nowhere. When UMBC knocked off Virginia, it came out of nowhere. So it's like you can't predict them. I mean, it's something like you can't brace yourself for it. It just happens.
Right. And until last week, I had totally forgotten that Virginia had lost to.
UMBC?
UMBC, yeah.
The Retrievers.
That was probably one of the biggest shockers ever.
I remember Loyola. They had a few straight upsets last season in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, yeah, Ramblers. They did. Yeah, they were...
they were in the, I want to say the Final Four?
They were the Final Four.
And until they lost to Michigan.
Yeah, which is typically just how it ends. The Cinderella story ends in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Which, disappointing. Of course, that's just my opinion. I like a good underdog story.
Oh, yeah, me too. I remember the year LSU was in the Final Four. They had two underdogs in the Final Four, LSU and George Mason.
Yeah. More so George Mason than anything.
Oh, definitely.
Then they ran into the buzzsaw that was Florida.
It was back when they had Joakim Noah.
Yeah, that was back-to-back championships.
Billy Donovan.
Billy Donovan's teams.
Who I believe is the current head coach of the Thunder right now? Or is he still coaching the Thunder?
Yeah, I think he got ran out of town.
Oh.
Yeah.
He should be back on the college level because his team's on the college level. Florida was just an unstoppable force.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kentucky now, they wouldn't stand a chance against Florida back then, considering how good they were.
Well, Donovan built a lot of defense-first teams that could also score. Because Florida's defense under Donovan was they were just always
unreal,
top 5,
completely unreal.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think that will just about do it for this week's episode. We're getting closer to March Madness, obviously, and that's always exciting. And the NBA playoffs should be rather interesting, especially with a lot of the deals that happen around the deadline and some of the teams that now just seem really stacked, especially like the 76ers. And
playoffs are going to be interesting.
Milwaukee also looks interesting with their trade for Nikola Mirotic. So, I don't know. Yeah, it should be a little bit more exciting coming up. All right. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Basketball Street Beat. I'm John Behrens.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
You find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube's, and as always, our website, AISportsNetwork.com. This is AI Sports Production, signing out.